My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. I'm going to break down the entire UFC 282 fight card, giving you my DraftKings picks, predictions, and plays. Before I jump in, become a premium member. Premium membership is only $10 a month, and it gets you access to all of our DraftKings plays, our best favorite, our best dog, the best value play, and the biggest fade of the week. You also get ownership projections, scoring projections, and value rankings. We take every single fighter in their price category and rank them. And on top of all of that, you get a DraftKings optimizer. You're looking at the optimizer here. You literally come in here, click some buttons, and this will build you, hopefully, a winning lineup. And it will build you up to 150 winning lineups, and this will figure out the value of each player, and that's a calculation of projected points scored, projected ownership. It'll create a value, the projection ownerships. You push that all together, literally a couple of clicks of the mouse, you'll get a winning lineup. You can get up to 150 winning lineups. Access this and everything else now at WeWantPicks.com. At the top, you just click Become a Member. Very easy, very affordable at only $2.50 a week. Now let's jump into the fight card. UFC 282, kind of a mess. Lost the main event. Ovince St. Preux, poor bastard, had 5 opponents. They all dropped. And then we have a last-minute switch up for Ponzinibbio. But let's go ahead and jump into this card. We'll start at the bottom, work our way to the top as we always do. Opening up the card, we have a couple of UFC newcomers. Cameron Saaiman. He's taking on Steven Kozlow. And what's tricky here is, while Cameron Saaiman is very expensive, big-time favorite, the dude has 6 professional fights. 6. He's he's a very good, fun striker. He's technical. He'll come forward. He'll chop you down. He'll throw incredible combinations. And he really does look good on his feet. And he can wrestle when he needs to. He's fighting Steven Kozlow, also UFC newcomer, stepping up on short notice. He's a grappler. This is pretty much a grappler versus striker matchup. He is a grappler. He'll come forward. He'll work his striking in, and then he'll shoot his takedowns. He's not desperate to the ground, but he does get it to the ground, and he's pretty effective when he gets there. Doesn't have a ton of power, but he has good pressure, good control. The problem is, yes, I think Cameron Saaiman wins. I think he wins this fight. The problem is, both of these guys have 6 professional fights. We have no idea what Cameron's going to do or how he's going to react if he is taken down and held down for a little bit. We have no idea how Steven's going to react if he gets backed up and he gets loses some of these striking exchanges. So fade both of these guys. Neither one should be in your DraftKings lineup. I do think Saaiman wins, but at freaking $9,300, I'm not spending $9,300 on a UFC debut that only has 6 fights. That isn't incredible at something. He's a good striker. He's not world level. Fade both those guys. Then we got Vinicius Salvador, UFC newcomer. He is a rangy striker. He has no problem being patient than waiting for a shot. He does have a counter-striking style, but he does gets a little too fancy, right? If you go to his Contender Series fight, he had his back against the cage. He was bobbing, weaving, and throwing, but he gets hit. Yes, he's dangerous. He hits very hard. He has very, very big power. He uses length well, but he also gets hit. And he's fighting Daniel Da Silva or Daniel Lacerda, depending on how you're doing your research. He shows up as both names. He's 0-3 in the UFC, but he's had a decent slate. Like, some of these are short notice. Molina, Figueiredo, Altamirano. They're not the greatest losses, but they're not the worst losses either. And he's a very dangerous guy. He's kill or be killed. He does have power in his hands, and he does have jiu-jitsu as well. He's a good grappler, good striker. The problem is he needs to dictate. If he's coming forward, he's getting the takedowns, or if he's coming forward, he's dictating the striking pace, he can win these fights. But if you back him up, he has issues. I don't know if Vinicius is going to back him up because Vinicius is a counter striker. So Vinicius may be waiting. The reality is, though, Daniel can be finished. His chin can be a little suspect. He comes in. He is looking to win these fights. Kill or be killed mentality. So Vinicius probably wins this fight. Probably catches him as he's charging in. If you want to spend the $8,900 on Vinicius, it's not the worst money spent. Daniel Da Silva at $7,300 is either going to score you 100 points because he's going to charge in, land that big shot, or score you almost nothing because he's going to get caught on the way in. I'm not going to have Daniel De Silva. There's better underdogs than him on this card. But Vinicius at 89 is probably worth it. Daniel's very dangerous, but Vinicius is probably worth it at that $8,900. Then we have TJ Brown and Eric Silva. These are both grapplers. This is sort of a grappler versus grappler matchup. Eric Silva is an aggressive grappler. He's going to march forward. He's going to throw heavy punches, and then he's just going to put that pressure on, get the takedowns. He's a little too comfortable striking. Gets wild, jumping, spinning attacks. He's almost like he doesn't even care or take the striking serious because he knows how good he is on the ground, so he just has fun on his feet and then works his way to the ground. He's fighting TJ Brown. TJ Brown he was with Bryce Mitchell forever. He's left that camp, not on bad terms or anything like that, but he's left that camp. TJ Brown is an aggressive striker and grappler. He's got solid volume on his feet, very good grappling, can get those takedowns. 7 against Griffin, 2 against Kai Kamaka, 6 against Boston Strong. What the hell is his name? Charles Rosa. 6 against Charles Rosa. And then the Nerd and Beak fight, the guy took a dump. He took a dump. Only 1 takedown. He lost almost all of those grappling exchanges. He was trying to find submissions, but would lose them and then end up in wrong positions, and he lost that fight. And the problem is, I don't know if that fight was the anomaly, meaning he didn't wrestle and it was just a bad day at the office and he's going to wrestle this fight, or if that's just what he is now, making very poor decisions in fights, because he made some very poor decisions in those fights. He has a 41% takedown defense. He has been taken down 10 times in 6 fights. I think I like Eric Silva here. I think I like Eric Silva to get his takedowns and go from there. Nerd and Beak took him down. Almost every other opponent has taken him down as well. And if he comes out here and he doesn't have the aggressive wrestling that we saw out of him against Charles Rosa, against Griffin, if we don't see that, then Eric Silva is going to dictate that wrestling pace. So I like Eric Silva to win, but I do think TJ Brown is a pretty solid underdog here, because if he'll do these things that we saw in these fights, he can have some success. But Eric Silva, very good grappler, probably should win this fight because I think I trust him more to actually grapple. Then we got one of the harder fights to pick. Billy Quarantillo, and he's taking on Alexander Hernandez. This is at 145. Alexander Hernandez going from 55 to 45. Billy Quarantillo is a non-stop, incredible pace kind of guy. Non-stop guy. He comes forward, just relentless pace. Look at this. In a loss, 164 significant strikes landed in a loss. 179 total strikes against Benitez. 136 against Gavin Tucker. 112 against Nelson. 110 against Carlisle. These are not all wins. 112 in a fight where he got a stoppage. 141 in a fight where he got a stoppage. Billy Quarantillo sets a pace, and you can expect him to really work for your money. 76 in a loss. 45 in a loss. Solid numbers in a win. I actually think Alexander Hernandez can win this fight. I really do. I think Alexander Hernandez, we know he's got power. We know he's an incredible athlete. We know he can wrestle. If he sets the wrestling tone, that sets up his striking. If he shoots some takedowns, his hands will be available. He doesn't always necessarily do that, and he hasn't done it in a while. But he is strong. He's athletic. He can wrestle. He's got more power. I worry that Billy can outwork him, but I do think Alexander can win this fight. I don't want him caught up in a strike for strike kind of match. I want him to work in the takedowns. I like Alexander Hernandez here. He may be in my DraftKings lineup at $7,600, but if you completely disagree, I totally get it. Billy Quarantillo, high-paced guy, and it's hard to fight a guy at that pace. But Hernandez, yeah, he lost to Moicano, smoked Breeden, lost to Moises, smoked Grutzmacher, lost to Dober. These are quality losses. Drew Dober, that dude's impossible to put away. Grutzmacher can be put away, and he did exactly that. Moises, Thiago Moises is very good. Breeden can be put away, and he did exactly that. Moicano, we've seen how good Moicano is lately. So, I think Alexander Hernandez can get this done, but Billy Quarantillo is a tough guy, high pace. Pick your side there, but I don't necessarily know if Billy Quarantillo is worth the $8,600, even if you think he wins. Then we got Joaquin Buckley, Chris Curtis. This should be a fun fight. Joaquin Buckley, aggressive, fun striker with incredible power, and he's starting to really work head movement into this as well, because he didn't always have very good movement. He just kind of came straight at you. Footwork, head movement is really starting to work in. I think he's incredible value at $8,500. He has insane power, and you know for a fact he's going to fight for your money. This loss to Imavov, he attempted takedowns, didn't get him fine, but that third round, he knew he was down, and he came out there swinging wild, trying to get that finish. I think Joaquin Buckley probably wins this fight, but Chris Curtis has been absolutely dominating outside of his last fight. He knocked out Phil Hawes, knocked out Brendan Allen. He beat Rodolfo Vieira, but if we look at these fights a little closer, Phil Hawes was winning the striking exchanges before he got caught. Brendan Allen didn't look bad. He looked pretty good in that fight before he got caught. And then Vieira actually did win the striking exchanges, and he's a grappler. The only reason Vieira didn't win this decision is because he was 0 for 7 on takedown attempts, and he just looked desperate, and the judges did not like that. But he had a lot of success in those striking exchanges as well. And then Jack Hermansson, who is a grappler, outstruck Chris Curtis. The problem with Chris Curtis' style is it's sort of a counter-strike style. He's just waiting to land that short left hook. And if he doesn't land it, he doesn't really have anything. So there are some caveats here. He got off this 3-round. I mean, look at the dates, 625 to 723. Less than a month later, he's flying across the world after a 3-round slugfest, flying across the world for a 3-round fight against a pretty tough guy. So there's definitely some cushion built into this loss to Hermansson. But Joaquin Buckley is going to fight for your money. He's going to come forward. He's going to throw. I don't necessarily think he's going to get caught with that short left hook from Chris Curtis. So I like Joaquin Buckley. I like him at $8,500. Then we got Edmund Shahbazyan versus Dolce Lungambula. Edmund Shahbazyan, $9,400. And that's tricky. It's tricky to spend the $9,400. He's a very good striker. He can work in some offensive takedowns as well, but his takedown defense is just okay at 57%. And that's how he's losing these fights. Derek Brunson, takedowns. Hermansson, takedowns. Imavov, takedowns. That's how he's losing these fights. People are getting him out of the striking and taking him down. If he gets his own takedowns, great. If you take him down, he's not very good off of his back. But he's got solid striking, somewhat well-rounded. Dolce Lungambula. They call him champion. And you guys are going to say he's an incredible striker. He's got incredible power. All of those things are true. But he also is an incredible judo practitioner, and he has takedowns. He can work in takedowns. If Dolce comes in here throwing big and then looking for the takedown, he can beat Shahbazyan. Do I think he does? Probably not. I think he'll sort of get caught up in the striking or shoot some takedowns, but they may be half-assed. The Cody Brundage submission, he sucked up his neck because he shot a takedown with his head on the outside. Soriano, he took him down twice. Before eventually getting knocked down. So I think Dolce Lungambula is a very live underdog here. If you want to throw him in at $6,800, that is at your own risk because the dude is losing 4 out of his last 5 fights. He's getting put out. He's getting submitted. And Shahbazyan's a very good striker, but Shahbazyan's also on the wrong end of 3 fights as well. I'm not going to touch either side of this fight. And there's a theme on this card. There's a lot of fights on this card that should be closer to 50-50 that aren't. I'm not going to hit either side. Shahbazyan's obviously the safer side, but Dolce, the way he throws those punches, the way he can work those takedowns, we know how vulnerable Shahbazyan is on his back. Dolce's a good underdog here. I'm not touching either one, though. Then we got Rosas Jr. Daukas. Listen, this is very similar to the Pavlovic-Tai Tuivasa fight from last week. Pavlovic, we know, is a dangerous heavy-handed striker. Tai Tuivasa, we know, is a dangerous heavy-handed striker. And everybody going into that fight that was on Tai was wrong. Everybody going into it that was on Pavlovic was wrong. Was right. But we were right by saying you shouldn't bet on those 50-50 fights. And I don't think you should throw DraftKings on those 50-50 fights. I know a lot of people that saw Tai Tuivasa's price point, threw him in their DraftKings, and he scored 8 points or something, 0.8. I don't even know if he scored a full point. And that's the problem with these big heavyweights that have big power. You may know the side, but it's a lot of risk because at the end of the day, they can knock each other out. So everybody that was on the Pavlovic side, I knew it. Get the fuck. Yeah, of course, He was the giant favorite. He was supposed to win, but the reality is Ty throws heat, and one of those punches is a centimeter farther in, and that dude's lights are out. Therefore, same logic here. I'm not playing either side of this. Rozenstruik, a Muay Thai striker, but more of a counter striker in reality. He waits. He's patient. He's slow. Very low volume. Look at these numbers. 18 in a decision. Granted, he was taken down, but still, 18 in a decision. 42 in a decision against Gane. That was straight up kickboxing, that whole fight. So he's a very low volume guy. Where Chris Daukas doesn't have much of a chin. He's kill or be killed. But he can move. He's got better footwork than Rozenstruik does. He's probably more accurate with his strikes than Rozenstruik is. But he does have power, but it's not going to be the same power, and he's got no chin. Better volume here because these are round 1, round 2, and similar numbers that we saw in Rozenstruik. So I actually think Chris Daukas can dance around and get this win. I think he can touch, make something happen, potentially even get to a decision. I'm not going to play either side because, either one of these guys can get flatlined in this fight. And we've got 13 fights to pick from, so let's go ahead and move on and find ourselves a different spot. Rosas Jr., Jay Perrin. Rosas Jr. should be in your lineup. He will be in mine. Done. That's it. Done. He's a nasty wrestler. Incredible control. He's only getting 3 or 4 takedowns in his fights, but it's because the control is insane, and we know how DraftKings loves control time. So Raul Rosas Jr. is going to get takedowns, going to get a ton of control, potentially get a submission. Jay Perrin, he's a tough guy. He's good. He's a pretty well-rounded guy. He's also a grappler primarily himself. But these people are taking him down, and he's getting taken down. Raul Rosas Jr. is going to get the takedowns, going to win this fight. Should be in your lineup. $9,000. I'm totally good with it. He's 18, a little too young. Probably even shouldn't be in the UFC, but I'm totally fine with him at $9,000 in this fight in DraftKings. We got Ilia Topuria, Bryce Mitchell. Listen, pick your side. One of these guys should be in your lineup. I think there's a ton of points here. If Bryce Mitchell wins, it is takedowns, it is control. He's going to score a ton of points. If Ilia Topuria wins, it is likely a knockout, like his last 3 fights, and he's going to score a ton of points. They're both grapplers. I think Ilia is the better wrestler. This dude is a Georgian who spent his life in Georgia wrestling, and that's a whole different level than a guy from Arkansas who wrestled a little bit in high school. That is not the same level. So Ilia Topuria is going to be the better wrestler. Ilia Topuria is absolutely the better striker. And I think Ilia Topuria wins this fight. $8,400. I will have him in my lineup. That's a great price. But if you like Bryce Mitchell, I'm done arguing with people. If you like Bryce Mitchell, go for it. This dude puts up numbers in his wins. 124, 113, 88. Because it's nonstop takedowns and control time. 11, 10, 13 minutes. In 15-minute fights, those are the numbers he's putting up. There is a world where he does take down Ilia Topuria. As much as I say Ilia is the far better wrestler, it is easier to finish takedowns than defend them, and it's possible that this boy from Arkansas is just diving at legs, getting those takedowns. Ilia Topuria does get tired. I think he wins the fight. He will be in my lineup. If you like Bryce Mitchell, you're going to get incredible discount at $7,800 for a guy that can put up some very real numbers. I'm on the Ilia side. You absolutely should have one of these people in your lineup. Then we got Dricus du Plessis versus Darren Till. This is another controversial fight. Dricus comes charging forward, throwing wild, reckless abandon. He was sat down by Brad Tavares in that fight. He is hittable. Head up, just begging to get hit. But he's got power in his hands. He does have cardio, and he can get takedowns. We saw it against Trevin Giles. The Brad Tavares fight was interesting, though, because, like I said, he came charging forward, and Brad sat him down, stepped to the side, bang, cracked him. And Brad is a very good fighter, well-rounded guy. He's not an insane kind of power guy. Darren Till, here's the problem. 1-4 in his last 5. But Derek Brunson just took him down, held him down, then submitted him. Robert Whittaker. You could argue Robert Whittaker is the best guy in the division. You could argue he beat Izzy in their last fight, and he's beaten every single person that isn't named Izzy. Kelvin Gastelum, he beat. Close decision, but Kelvin Gastelum's gone to some very incredible close decisions with people, including Izzy. George Masvidal, he was beating Masvidal before getting caught. Tyron Woodley, this is when Tyron Woodley was basically the champion of the world. Before he was the gun-shy Tyron Woodley. Beat Thompson, that's a solid win. Beat Cerrone, solid win. Those aren't necessarily solid wins, but the reality is Darren Till is a good striker. He's had some personal issues, right? A bunch of injuries. Suffering with some mental health illness. Had some stuff going on, but did you see him at that press conference last night? He has a six-pack or close to it, and that's before the weight cut. So Darren Till seems to be on the right track, seems to be healthy, and frankly, Brunson, Whitaker, Masvidal, Woodley, they all beat Daukas du Plessis. I think Darren Till wins this fight because I think Daukas comes charging forward with his head up and Darren Till catches him. That's what I think happens. I'm probably not going to put him in my DraftKings lineup because there are some unknowns here. How healthy is he? He just got a DUI, I don't know, 6 months ago, whatever that was. Like, there's some stuff going on there. As much as I want to put him in my lineup at $7,400, I probably won't. And as the week goes on, I get a little less confident in him. I do think he wins. I'm probably not going to have him in my lineup because I do worry about that. I do worry about what's going on with him. And if Daukas wins, he's going to score a ton of points because he'll win by stoppage. So, frankly, if you're high on Daukas, $8,800 is not terrible because if you think he wins, he will win by stoppage. Ponzinibbio versus Alex Morono, $8,700. It's so funny this says questionable. $8,700. It's interesting because this is the price that was set, with a last-minute opponent and everything going on with Robbie Lawler dropping. I think Ponzinibbio can win this fight. He's coming off 2 losses in a row, but these are split decisions. These are close decision losses. He is a very good striker, And he's at a full camp here. He's ready to go. $8,700 is a bit tricky, though, because Alex Morono is tough. Alex Morono is very tough, and Alex Morono continues to defy the odds. He was an underdog in almost every single one of these wins except the Mickey Gall one. He was an underdog against Semmelsberger. Won that fight, looked fantastic doing it. Zawada looked great. Donald Cerrone stepped up on short notice. Bang, lights out. This could be that same exact fairy tale as the short notice Donald Cerrone fight was. Granted, Ponzinibbio's got a better chin than Cerrone did in 2021, but still, Alex Morono's very live here. I think he's a great underdog spot. I think Ponzinibbio should win because of the full camp, but this is full camp. If this is full camp versus full camp, Alex Morono is a great value, and I may have him in my lineup because, what he's been doing in these last 4 fights and his ability to tie it all together now is fantastic. So I will probably have him at $7,500 in my lineup. Then we got Paddy Pimblett versus Jared Gordon, $9,100. Another tricky spot. Guys, this card in general is tricky. I don't know if you're picking up on those vibes here. Paddy's a well-rounded striker, well-rounded grappler. He was almost lights out in his first fight because his chin is up, but he can strike, he can grapple. And we've seen that in his 3 UFC fights. The problem is, this Jordan Leavitt win, he was losing that fight. He was getting taken down. He was getting controlled. Then he lands a great knee, wins a scramble there, and then gets the submission. But he was getting taken down and controlled. And Jared Gordon is a good wrestler. Jared Gordon's a very good wrestler who can get those takedowns. He can 2 takedowns against Chavez, 3 against whoever the hell Fishgold is. He took down Selecki. Grant Dawson, we just watched him out wrestle an Olympian. So, okay, you didn't out wrestle Grant Dawson. Joe Selecki was able to out-grab him, but Joe Selecki's a slick grappler. And then Santos is a nasty grappler that he just avoided the bullshit and outstruck him. My point here is Jared Gordon can win this fight. I think Paddy wins this fight. I think Paddy will find his opportunity. He is an opportunist. I think Paddy wins this fight. I have not made him a parlay piece. I don't think I'm going to have him in DraftKings. I might throw Jared Gordon in my DraftKings, depending on what the pricing looks like, because there is a world where Jared gets the takedowns, controls Paddy for 15 minutes. A boring, get-booed fight. Paddy seems to be getting his opportunities in fights, meaning I know the UFC set him up, but he seems to be getting these fights where he wants them and winning them. I do think Paddy wins. Jared Gordon is a very solid underdog on this card. Then we got the main event. Magomed Ankalaev taking on Jan Blachowicz for the belt. Magomed Ankalaev is going to win this fight. $9,200. I will probably spend that money. The problem is he's not the highest scorer in the world. 80 points in a 5-round fight. But this is a tough card with a lot of live underdogs. And personally, I need a guaranteed win. And I think Magomed Ankalaev is a guaranteed win. Long, rangy striker who can work in takedowns when he wants to. Jan Blachowicz, we know he has insane power. We know that. But you got to close the distance to land those strikes. And I don't see how he's going to close that distance against Ankalaev. He's going to keep him at the end of the punches, keep him at the end of the strikes, touch him up, probably win a boring decision, but I'll take a boring 80-point decision on a wild card like this. That's really tough. So Ankalaev will be in my lineup. Jan Blachowicz, I just don't see it happening. I really don't. He has insane power, but I don't think he's going to get a chance to use that power. Guys, that's the breakdown. Become a premium member at WeWantPicks.com. It is only $10 a month. You get all of our DraftKings plays. You get DraftKings player rank. Even if you think everything that I say is wrong and stupid, you get an optimizer that will help you build a winning lineup with objective data. That's not opinion. This is objective data. It uses that data to create a lineup for you. It can create 150 lineups for you. You also get the projected ownerships. You get player rankings and everything else that will help you make money and win doing DraftKings, playing DraftKings, building DraftKings lineups. All of that is only $10 a month, $2.50 a week. Just go to WeWantPicks.com and at the top, click Become a Member.